The big one, Doomsday at midnight cry by year 2028 end. The day is coming that the ground beneath humanity's feet may shake like never before. Scientists call it the Big One, a catastrophic earthquake so powerful that it could end the world at doomsday in a matter of minutes. Are the increasing signs around the globe merely natural disasters, or warnings of something far greater yet to come? Could such an event occur by year 2028 end? Stay with us as we uncover the doomsday scenario. In this video we will examine the prophecies of the end times, the evidence from the reckoning from Pi Tetragrammaton that scheduled the coming doomsday, and scriptural text that supports it, in line with the catastrophic event that many fear, could become the last great earthquake of the end times. When will be the final judgment, and how long will it last? Beforehand, there are three phases of God's final judgment. These are the investigative judgment, also known as pre-Advent judgment, the millennial judgment, and lastly the executive judgment, also known as the final judgment. The start of investigative judgment, when Christ as our high priest opened the door of mercy when he entered the most holy place of the heavenly sanctuary, at the end of 2,300 prophetic days, Daniel 8:14 that took place in 1844 AD, as proclaimed by the third angel's message, Revelation 14:9-12 from the west. Ellen G. White, who received dreams and visions, as the first witnessing from the spirit of prophecy, wrote down on chart in the year 1900, the closed-door message in relation to time, days that covered Revelation 10:1-6, at the end of tarrying time in Habakkuk 2:2-3, see chart by using the literal 2,300 days reckoning, as timeline under the third angel's message from the west. While the two olive trees imparted to human instrumentalities, who received symbols and figures as the second witnessing from the spirit of prophecy, wrote down on chart in the year 2002, at the end of tarrying time in Habakkuk 2:2-3, see chart. The open door message in relation to time, days that covered Revelation 10:7-11, by using the symbolic 2,300 days reckoning, as timeline under the fourth angel's message, Revelation 18:1 from the east. That is why the fourth angel's message, Revelation 18:1 from the east, would proclaim the fall of modern Babylon, by applying the symbolic 2,300 days reckoning, to Daniel chapter 2's dream and vision on collapse of temporal world empires, see chart, that locates through historicism on chart, the end of investigative judgment last 2004 AD. The fourth angel's message Revelation 18:1 from the east, unite with the third angel's message from the west, during the days of the voice of the seventh angel Revelation 10:7, when the mystery of God should be finished as promised in the Bible. Their union constitutes the final warning to given to the inhabitants of this earth. The end of investigative judgment, when the great image code transpired last 2004 AD, in signifying that the coming collapse of all temporal kingdoms on earth from its 12 foundations, will arrive at the end of the heavenly sign of the prophet Jonah's 3 days and 3 nights, or 72 heavens hours, namely 24 years on earth, that comes next to the end of investigative judgment. That is 2004 AD plus 24 remaining years, concludes to year 2028 end. Next is the millennium, or 1,000 years before the second resurrection. Note, at the end of the scapegoat antitype ceremony in the heavenly sanctuary, is fixedly located on sanctuary map by 2034 AD, see chart, mark the start of millennium, when Satan the scapegoat, will be cast down to the desolated earth for 1,000 years. At the end of this millennium, when the holy city third temple antitype, will descend in Jerusalem shortly before the final judgment, cleansing of the earth by fire and brimstone. Also at the end of the millennium, when both the redeemed saints that were gathered inside the holy city, and all the resurrected wicked dead who are all gathered outside, surrounding the 12 gates of the holy city, will witness the final coronation of the Son of God, King Yahushua, Jesus, from high above the walls of the holy city, shortly before the final judgment. With regards to how long the final judgment will last, before the start of new heaven and new earth, and how the origin of sin is connected with the entire period when darkness would cover the desolated earth before the final judgment, that is 1,008 years after Christ's second coming by year 2028 end. We need to review on the origin of sin. We have the following. The origin of sin. When did sin begin? It's a common belief that the origin of sin began at the fall of man when human perfection failed in Eden, as a result of man's disobedience after falling into a trap by the serpent to eat the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge. This theory on the origin of sin occupied human thoughts, but not until the days of Revelation 10:7, when the mystery of God should be finished, has arrived in our present generation, that clarify and resolve the issue about the real origin of sin. Because sin did not originate when human perfection failed in Eden, by the time when the creation of both light and life has already transpired. But in reality, sin originated earlier than that. The author of sin came to this world, by the time when Lucifer, as the former archangel, together with the 1/3 of the angels that joined him in his rebellion against God, were banished from heaven after the war, and were cast down to this earth, when darkness was still upon the face of the earth, many years before the creation of both light and life. The time when the author of sin was cast down to this earth, is the exact origin of sin. From the very word sin, the foundation of sin, through its code 42, multiplied by its 12 foundations equals 504, was manifest in history at 504 years before creation when sin began, the origin of sin. That is why Satan and his angels were cast down to the desolated earth for almost half a millennium even before creation. And this span of 504 years will be doubled, during the next 1008 years of desolated earth, after Christ's second coming by year 2028, when planet Earth will be emptied of all its inhabitants, during the first resurrection, when all the resurrected saints and the living righteous will ascend to heaven. While all the living wicked will be destroyed by the brightness and glory of Christ's second coming by 2028 AD. Together with all the wicked dead buried inside their tombs since the world began, they will be resurrected, during the second resurrection at the end of the millennium, that is 1000 years after 2034 AD. 2034 AD lies at the end of the scapegoat antitype ceremony in the heavenly sanctuary, when Satan the scapegoat will be cast down to the desolated earth for 1000 years, the fulfillment of Revelation 23. At the end of the millennium, the holy city third temple antitype will descend in Jerusalem shortly before the final judgment, cleansing of the earth by fire and brimstone by year 3036 AD, which fall exactly 1008 years after 2028 AD, year of Christ's second coming. 3036 AD, which lies at the end of 1008 years after 2028 AD, Christ's second coming, is the start of the final judgment, hell on earth, that will last for 108 years before the start of new heaven and new earth by 3144 AD. The origin of sin versus the Savior from sin, is both manifest in history. The origin of sin that took place at 504 years before creation, have its contrary, known as the Savior from sin, who took upon himself the curse it brings, by dying on the cross to save us from sin. Galatians 3:13. Our Savior from sin, was manifest in the flesh, during his first advent, that took place 42 generations from Abraham until Christ, see Matthew 1:17. The word sin, whose code is 42, multiplied by its 12 foundations, Revelation 21:14, equals 504, was manifest in history at 504 heavens days from creation, equivalent to 4032 years from creation, namely 32 AD. See chart in the background in disclosing historicism on Christ's first advent, that took place during the last 72nd Sabbaths of years from creation. This was done by applying God's own timetable in Leviticus 25:8 Sabbaths of years from creation, that gave us accurate conversion of heaven's day period and its equivalent in earth years. The historicism on chart locates Christ's earthly ministry, which began after his baptism on 27 AD until 31 AD, year of Christ's crucifixion, and 32 AD, which lies at the end of the 7th year annual Sabbath of the 72nd Sabbaths of years from creation, when Christ as a priest entered the holy place, the first door apartment of the heavenly sanctuary, as our Savior from sin.
Kindly please do not forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. God bless us all.